Have you ever asked for a refill on your coffee? You still had a little bit left. And as they were pouring it in, you sort of wished they stopped at the top. So everything was still there. You kind of wish they had kept pouring to discard some of that old coffee that you didn't really want. Well, sometimes that happens with the information when we're learning from others. We sometimes feel like we're filled to the brim, and sometimes we should keep going and remove some of that old stuff. And we'll talk about that today on today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
One-handed, because I got to hold the laptop with the other one, or else it goes sliding down like that.
Fair enough. I see that you're in the hostage program today. Usually it's me that's on holidays when my office is being used as a bedroom. Seems you're in hostage today.
I am. Yes, I'm at a hotel, enjoying the joys of a hotel with poor lighting.
So for those of you who are listening to the podcast, Bob is in a hotel that does not appear to have very strong lighting, or they are really saving a lot of money on electricity. One of the two. So he's just, it looks a little bit darker than normal. Those of you watching the broadcast can see what I'm talking about. So welcome to today's Antidote, everyone, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we have a conversation around our topic. As you heard, our topic this week is learning from others. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what to discard, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Before we do, let's kick off with the way we start every show, our celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm going to celebrate the fact that you got that technology worked out in just a couple of days, so that introduction actually works really well. And I will confess to you, Tom, I didn't know where you were going with the coffee thing. And it landed really well. I was like, ooh, that was good.
Well, I started thinking about that. Someone wrote something. So I was responding to a LinkedIn post in this. I have a group that that we kind of respond to each other's posts. And someone was talking about your cup overflowing, or that you can only fill your cup up so far. And I got thinking about, well, you know what? Sometimes as we're filling it up, we really would like to kick out some of the information that we have and bring in something new. And it's also, I think, a good analogy, and I won't dive into this too deeply because maybe we'll talk about this, is when you look at the things that you have to do. You know, one of the things that I've found, especially in the nonprofit space, is that people have their responsibilities. They have their goals and objectives laid out for the year. And very well-intended board members come up with brilliant ideas that they say, well, we should, I was at this event and this is what they did. And we should do that. And so often I think nonprofits, because they want to be responsive to their board, like, okay, we'll do it. And what ends up happening is some of the things that they had planned sort of get pushed to the side, or aren't able to spend as much time as they thought they were going to be able to. And so one of the things I try to talk to them about is, look, that's a great idea. Love your idea. What are we going to get rid of so that we make sure we apply enough information? And I think that's sort of the same way, is that it's kind of like, rather than warming up your coffee, dump out what's left and get a whole new cup.
Wow. Tom throwing the one things down early today.
No, that was just a prelude to what's to come.
Okay. So what are you celebrating?
I completely forgot what you celebrated, but now I remember that it was the technology. I am celebrating the fact that I reorganized my office. I should take a picture. You know how it was.
Looks the same as it has.
I understand that. Behind the scenes, and my desk is much different. So the desk that you can't see that's in front of me was not good. And so I spent some time yesterday, even though yesterday wasn't clean off your desk day. We didn't have a day. We won't talk about why. And so I chose that yesterday was going to be clean off my desk day, and I did it. So that's what I'm celebrating.
I like it.
What is the nation celebrating today, Bob?
No, we're going to change it, Tom. As of yesterday, I don't care what the nation's celebrating. We're going to celebrate what renegades celebrate. Each day, we're going to come up with something, or people are going to provide us something, but we're going to come up with what renegades are celebrating. So today, I want to celebrate renegades' willingness to try new things, even when it's difficult. So this is a day to celebrate the fact that you know who you are, and you know you've tried things that are new to you, that are scary, that are uncomfortable, that are you worry that they're going to go wrong, people are going to blame you, and you still did it. I celebrate that today. Wouldn't you celebrate that, Tom?
I definitely would. And I
go.
would also celebrate the fact that you were a renegade. We talked about this.
Yep.
And you just decided today was the day. I love it.
That's it. I didn't talk to you about it. Probably should have or could have, but didn't.
That's okay. Sometimes it's nice to have surprises. That's it.
That's it. And
adds a little fun to the show.
If you're participating in the show, feel free to send us what you want a day to be celebrating. It could be something very personal about your business. It could be something very global about business in general.
So can they send us dates in the future? Maybe the date that their business started. They can send us a date, or they can just say, put this on your list. You can send it to ringofrenegades@gmail.com. That's ringofrenegades@gmail.com. Or you can put it here in the comments. But if you put it here in the comments, everyone's going to see it. And they're going to, it won't be a surprise. Well, I would imagine they could also put it in our Facebook group.
They could.
Even though, and they may not know the exact date. We will choose to do that.
Or they could DM us, as the young people say.
Do they still say that? I'm not sure that's exactly the way they phrase that. I think that's the way
old people acting like young people try to phrase it.
Trying to, yes.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. That was good.
Yes.
I needed that today.
Well, I like that. That's excellent. And one of the things we should add to our list is maybe next Thursday should be Achieving Your Wishes Day.
Ooh.
Because next Thursday is our final workshop for now. I have a feeling we may run these again later in the year as we get further along the line and people are looking back on what their year has been like. And now they're wishing they could do some things differently, and they'll have a chance to do that. So next Thursday, the 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern time is our last From I Wish to Success, the Renegade Way Workshop. So if you are interested in that, please go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com, click on programs.
I'll put a link here, Tom. I'm working on it.
Awesome. You can also, if you go to the homepage of renegadesuccessnetwork.com, there is a button in the header that says, that allows you to click and join. So we hope that we will see you there. It has, I think, really provided some people with some opportunities and some new goals to shoot for that they may not have otherwise chosen because it was in their head, stuck as a wish, not something they actually thought they could achieve. So that is the 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. All right. So now that we have done that piece of the work, let's dive into our topic of the day, which is actually the topic of the week, is learning from others and what to discard.
Wow.
What are your thoughts? You want to take it away, Bob?
Sure. You already started into it, but to me, anything that doesn't feel right, I discard. So if someone says to me, you should call 500 people today in a sales situation, that doesn't feel right to me. That just doesn't. That's my personal choice. I know there are plenty of people that dial 500 numbers in a day and sell very effectively. I'm not judging that at all. I'm just saying, for me, that doesn't fit. Just like I tend to make more phone calls than some people around me would suggest. And that's just what works for me. So if someone said, why don't you just text them that information? It's like, no, I'd really rather talk through it with them. And so I gather information, but I also filter it through what's okay for me, what's comfortable for me, what feels like it fits. It doesn't mean I'm not uncomfortable, but the discomfort has to be an extension of something that's comfortable. So I'm trying to think of a good example. If someone liked venison, maybe they tried bison, because that's a little extension there, but not a complete extension. If someone's a vegetarian and you say, oh, you've got to eat venison, that's pretty extreme. And I think the incremental things are what I respond to, and the more extreme things that are so counter to what I'm thinking, I'll often discard. And at times, I admit I discard things because they're extreme in my mind, and they are perfectly great ideas, but I'm not ready for them at that moment. It might not be a week. It might not be a month, a year. It could be 5 years. Who knows? But in due time.
So are you really discarding them, or you are setting them aside?
Oh, geez. Now we should have recast the whole thing, start back at the beginning. Do the intro again, Tom.
Well, I think that I think that both happen.
Yes.
I don't think it's a this or that. It's a this and or that. I think there are times when people discard what we say or share and pay no attention. And I think there are also times that they think they have discarded it or that it's not of value. And in reality, they are just setting it aside in their mind, in that space of the cup that is not yet overflown. And at some point they're like, you know what? I've tried all these other things, and I had this person tell me that maybe I should make 500 calls a day, and I haven't ever really tried it. Maybe this is the thing that would make a difference for me. Or they hear someone else say it. I think it's one of those things that we hear things and we're either not ready to hear it, we're not paying full attention, and yet it's still impacting what's real for us. Very minor, but it's in there. And then when someone else says it, maybe someone who has more influence with us, that we feel more connected to, or have more, or at a moment when we are paying more attention, they say it and they're like, wait a minute, I heard that somewhere. I'm not really sure where, but now that I've heard it twice, or maybe a third or fourth time, maybe now that is something I should consider and try, see what happens. So then once I have tried it, I could then decide whether it is real for me or not.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it. I think you do set it aside. I think when I find it's most difficult for me to be open to even whether something's worth consideration is when someone hits me emotionally and they make me feel like I did something wrong. And usually they didn't make me feel that way. I allow myself to go down that road. And once I go down that road, my willingness to listen to options and information starts to go away. And I saw it yesterday. I was talking to someone and she was explaining to me a workshop that she does and how she put together this workshop. And it was counter to everything I've ever done. And at first I was like, are you sure that's going to work? And then she started to explain it, and she started to explain how people were already doing certain things tied to it, and it was working really well. And she's like, it really is. It just makes more sense to go this way. It matches up with this. And after about 10 minutes of discussing it, I said to her, that might be an idea I'm willing to steal. And she said, what if it's an idea I'm giving you? That's why I explained it to you, because I thought it might be valuable to you. And she knew it could be valuable to me and ultimately us before I did, because she saw how she saw the puzzle pieces fitting differently than I did. And at the end, she explained to me, this is why this would be really good for you. This fits what you guys are trying to do. You should try it. I started with, there's no way. And at the end, it was like, can't wait to sit down and talk to Tom about this and how we might apply this logic to what we want to do. So that's a case where I had to go through the emotional process of, whoa, this feels very uncomfortable. No, danger, Bob, eject, to, to, wow, Now I see it. And I think that evolution is a lot like the coffee you talked about at the beginning. You call the person over to pour more coffee for you. And I know I'll often, they're coming and I'll be like, I'm going to drink all the coffee that's in the cup, even if it's cold, just get it out of the way. So I can cast it aside. So I can discard that and start with a new fresh cup. Other times though, I don't, because it's perfect. It's got the right amount of sugar, the right amount of cream, and it tastes so good. And I know if they add more coffee to it, that ratio is going to be messed up. So then it's like, oh, what do I do? I think that's the process we go through in our mind when confronted with a new situation or challenge.
Yeah, it's interesting. As you were explaining that story, I think it's so easy for us to take what's real for us and believe that it's right. You have similar ways to run workshops, but in this case, you have ways that you think are what work for you to run them. And someone was sharing something that was completely different, and it challenged what was real for you. And I think it sounds like, and I don't mean to try to evaluate what it is, but it sounded like you were thinking it was wrong.
At first, yes. Yes.
And I think when we think something is wrong, it's easier to discard it rather than consider it. And I think if we can get, at least for myself, if I try to get, well, that's what's real for them. And I struggle with this sometimes too, because I think that I was trying to help Liz with a presentation the other day, and I was sharing what I thought was what was real for me. And she was struggling with it, wasn't getting it. So it wasn't really real for her. And I was trying to maybe overly influence and probably frustrate her with, yeah, I don't see it that way. And I think that that's what happens when we think of right and wrong, rather than this is what's real, and understanding, share what you have to share. And let me see how that impacts what I do, especially if you start to share why, like she did. It can now start to have a greater impact. And you can be like, that's interesting. It might be the point where here are some things that I was doing that I kind of like, but wasn't really sold on. I can pull that out and replace this with this thing that now, at least for the moment, seems like it might add value to what I'm trying to do and impact what's real for you.
Don't you think at its deepest level, Tom, what we're really talking about is the feeling that we want to be safe and protected and know what's coming? And as soon as we have that outside information, we have a choice. We can say, you know what? I'm going to stay in the land of safety. I'm going to do it the way I've always done it because I know what happens then. Because when we're confronted with that additional information, and if we consider it and start to use it, we go to a place of being uncomfortable. There's no guarantee it works. And once we get into that place, I think that's where I see myself and a lot of people around me get stuck out of fear, or I hear all the time, yeah, I want to try that, but I'm going to wait a little longer because they don't want to be uncomfortable. Because this whole workshop thing, when I walk you through it, it's got some risk. It's going to feel uncomfortable to us. Doesn't mean it's wrong or right. Just, I know because I went through the process yesterday in my head of, whoa, this could be bad. But I would also say when you have that feeling, that's often when you have the most growth and the most opportunity. Stepping out of the box fully is better than just dipping your toes out of it.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that yesterday. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if that's something you want to explore further, go back and listen to episode 491, I believe.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Where those times when we get most uncomfortable is those times that we may actually learn more than when we're comfortable. And I think comfort has a lot to do with it, and I think it's a comfort that starts to lead us to the path of this is what's right.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And everything else that's different, we don't see it as different. We start to see it as wrong, because if ours is the right method, well, then everyone else has to be wrong, rather than if ours is what's real for us in the moment. And we are always willing to listen to something else that may or may not impact it. And then we get to choose like, oh, that makes sense. I might want to incorporate that in, or I'm not really ready for that. I appreciate you sharing it with me. I'm not sure that that's the direction I want to go. And I'm going to store that away because I might get to a place where I've tried everything else and it hasn't produced the results that I hoped. And so I'm keep trying. And so maybe I'll try this and just see where that sort of goes as I start to figure out, again, what I'm doing. And I think as we talked about, this, that we're always learning, and I think we talked about on Monday, is that if we really think of things as we are always learning and what is real for us is always being impacted, whether it's significantly or very, very minutely, then we have an opportunity to grow, and it would be beneficial for us to really listen and start to understand what people are saying, even though it may or may not be what we have done or what we truly want to do.
Wow. So what's your one thing? I know you gave about 3 one things earlier.
So, what to discard, I would say, because that's the topic, is learning from others and what to discard. I guess I would say that don't be so quick to discard. And I would say rather maybe set it aside until you have tried it. And if you have tried it and you realize it doesn't fit with what's real for you, and that's okay. You can at least say, you know what? I learned from them. I tried it. And then I moved on and did something different because that wasn't what felt real for me. So now I have the opportunity to move on and try something else. And I've opened up space to bring something else in that I can now try.
Can I modify that a little bit and see what you think?
You just don't want to add your own thoughts?
No. I like mine was along the same lines, but where you say try it, I would suggest maybe more fully evaluate it. I don't think everything should be tried. I think there are things that I'm not going to try, but I certainly think there's a space to fully evaluate something, like go through the pros and cons, gather enough information so you understand what you're really talking about, and then make an evaluation. So go through the mental exercise of trying it. I don't think you always want to do it.
I guess the caveat I would add to that is that if it was reckless, if you consider it to be reckless, then I would say not to try it. Otherwise, how can you fully evaluate something that you never implement?
Well,
because all you're putting into it is your knowledge, experience, and perspective. Someone else who is now hearing it, that might resonate very well with their knowledge, experience, and perspective and be drawn to that. How do you know?
Okay. I don't have a good answer for that. You've kind of left me speechless, which is never a good feeling.
I just think it's a question. I think it's a how you define fully evaluate. And right. I guess my definition would say, I'm not sure you can fully evaluate it until you share it to see how others react.
Okay.
Because then you're limited to your knowledge, experience, and perspective to determine whether it has value.
And maybe that's it. Just sharing it with the people around you and that you trust and getting hey, I'm thinking of trying this thing. What do you think? Because I come to you with some things and you go, yeah, that's it. Wow. Yeah, that sounds great. Or really? Huh. What are you thinking there? Right.
And that's just one perspective, right?
Correct. But if it's someone you trust,
sure,
that perspective is valuable because they see their real world is different than your real world. And if they understand what you're trying to achieve, they could be supportive, right? And sometimes it is, and that's why we created the Renegade Success Network, to give people that outlet to talk through things before they do them, or to not even, to consider it and then say, no, that's not for me. Because we have those discussions with people all the time.
I think that's the piece of one of the pieces that's so valuable, and I think so often is missing for leaders, small business owners, entrepreneurs. They don't have a group of peers that they feel comfortable going and sharing. Hey, I'm thinking about this, and before I implement it, I'd like to just get more feedback of, is there some sense in this, or is this me truly being reckless? And I think to me that's sort of the That's sort of the line that we all have to decide and define what reckless means, where I'm not ready to cross to try as a part of evaluation. And I think having, whether it's a one-on-one conversation with you or I, or in our weekly check-in and check-ups, to sort of bounce things off of people. You know, we had one of those discussions yesterday. One of the members was, excuse me, was trying to work through some, I don't want to call it homework, but it was kind of homework that they were working on, a project that they were working on for their company. And one part of it just didn't seem to resonate. They weren't really sure what this looked like. And so we had the chance to talk it through. And I think they were able to come to a place of comfort with, okay, this may not be exactly what the organization is looking for. And it's something that I can at least share. And I can share why I chose to put this information into that project.
Wow.
And I think so. If you are interested in learning more about the Renegade Success Network, just put it in the comments, put Renegades in the comments, or you can reach out to us at renegadesuccessnetwork@gmail.com. And we would be happy. Or as Bob said, you can DM us.
The opportunities to feel old. They just keep coming one after another.
It's not old. It's just wise. And you just have
That's
more.
it. Wise.
That's just information. You have old information, maybe, that needs to be updated. So you maybe need to go out and talk to a few younger people to say, hey, if I want someone to...
You know what, Tom? Just for you, I'll do that in the next couple of days. Just for you.
Just saying that's an option for you to consider.
That's
you
it.
can discard it if you choose. It may be too reckless, and you don't want to do that. Or you want to think about it, your idea of fully evaluating it is just processing it and not sharing it with anyone, and then you can choose. That's what's real for you.
So with that, folks.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being a part of our show today. We hope that
Thank you so much.
What's that?
Just so much going on.
I like the days when you sit there and you're not really exactly sure what just happened. Those are fun days, at least in my mind. It might be reckless on my part.
I'm glad you're having fun.
Yes, I'm sure you think I'm being reckless, which is
No, I think it's
part
funny.
of the fun. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us. If you are watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or
LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, where were the hands?
If I do, it's live. See?
Actually, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that.
Is it live?
That hotel needs to have a desk that you can put those on. Stacks of
There's
books.
a desk, but there's less light there.
Okay. So if you are watching it in any one of those platforms, please feel free to share a comment, or you can also share your one thing. If you are listening to the podcast, we'd love for you to rate our show.
5 stars, por favor.
Thank you. You can also send us feedback. We would love to hear that. And if you really want to share your one thing or some comments you have about today's show, join us in our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where other renegades are finding their own unique pathway to success. And we'd love to have you share in there. Or if you're not yet a member, you can ask to join our private group. Just tell us why you're a renegade. So we look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. We hope that you are marking down January 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for our next workshop. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Embrace the renegading you.
And what are we celebrating today?
What was it? The renegades' willingness to try things outside their box.
So go out and try something new, or something that you thought didn't make any sense.
Good luck getting through the day without trying something new. I'm finding more and more that that's kind of part of the day.
Isn't it all new because we have never come to it with this?
That's what I'm saying. Every new day is a new opportunity.
Okay, I like it. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.